Hey y'all, it's another Gettin Real with Ashleydawn. I'm Ashleydawn and I'm gonna get real with you. So recently I turned 38, whoop whoop, happy birthday to me. And I've had a lot of people ask me if like, oh my gosh, you're 38 years old and you're single and you don't have kids. Yes, that's true. And you're happy? Yes, I am, because I know that if I don't have something in my life, it's because God hasn't seen fit to put it there. One of the biggest things I tell young girls, or any age girls, is if it's not from God, you don't want it anyway. You can force anything in your power and in your strength, but you're not really going to be happy. Your heart is not fully going to be satisfied if it's coming from you, from your desires, from what you want. You're not going to be happy unless it comes from God. If you're a woman of God. I'm a woman of God. I love the Lord. I talk to him every day. I pray. I'm actually on my way to church right now. And I can tell you from 38 years of experience, probably 20 years of dating experience, dating somebody that God did not send is not going to make you happy. Okay, he's fine. Okay, he's handsome. Okay, he's cute. Great. Your eyes will be happy, but your soul won't. Oh, he's so hot, whatever. Okay, how does he treat you? What kind of character does he have? He might, like I said, he might be good to look at, but is he going to be good to raise a family with? Is he going to be good when you're sick to be next to your hospital bed? Those are questions that you don't think about when you're thinking, oh, he's so attractive. Well, looks only last so long. And, a prime example of that, think about your favorite actor, right? The way they looked when you first started liking them. I will, kind of tell on myself when I was a little girl. I mean, I've had several little celebrity crushes, but the biggest, and my mom will laugh at this, the biggest crush that I have ever had in my entire life has been Elvis Presley. I've been obsessed with him since I was a little girl. I had pictures, posters all over my wall. I had a cardboard cutout of his gold lame outfit. I had books. My hairbrush had Elvis on it. I had a Velvis Elvis. I mean, anything with Elvis, cards, games, Elvisopoly, anything you could think of, I had it with Elvis. I had Elvis blankets. I had Elvis shower curtains. I had Elvis purses. Like, I was obsessed with Elvis. I thought he was the most beautiful man in the entire world, and I just was obsessed with him. Also George Strait, but Elvis more so. Anyway, as a child, I loved him so much. I loved his music. On my 25th birthday, I went to Graceland for the first time. I cried. It was an amazing experience. One of, honestly, the most spiritual experiences I've ever had in my life outside of a church. And I haven't told this story to a whole bunch of people, but I might have shared it on my Gettin Real. I don't know. Anyway, very spiritual experience with me and Jesus in the record room when I'm looking around to all these gold, platinum, triple diamond, whatever albums in this record room, floor to ceiling. I don't even know how high the ceilings were, but they were stinking high. And I'm standing there, and at one point I believe I knelt. I'd have to ask my friend Lou. He was with me, but he actually was the one that took me. But so I'm standing there kneeling something, and I'm looking at all of these trophies and awards and plaques, and I just started weeping because I started to think about the life that he lived on earth and how much more it could have been had he not got sidetracked, had he kept his focus on God, because his Southern gospel is some of my favorite music. I love it so much. Anyway, let's go back to the way he looks. So I was just in love with him. I thought he was the most beautiful man in the world. Okay, so Elvis in the Army is my favorite. There's like a picture of him on a motorcycle that I just drool all over. Anyway, that Elvis did not stay that Elvis. If you can remember, he went through, the drugs and the alcohol and the toxic lifestyle, and he gained a lot of weight, and he eventually, passed, and not in the most flattering of ways. I say all this to say, I still love Elvis. I still listen to his music, and I still love Graceland and all that. But I'm saying, if you sign up for a marriage, let's just say, or a relationship, right? And you're thinking of the army Elvis. You're not always gonna have that army Elvis. When you marry somebody, it's sickness and health, and richness and poorness, and I don't know, for richer or poor, whatever. That person is gonna change. You're gonna have multiple versions of that person along the course of your relationship. So don't sign up for somebody that looks good, because they might not always look good. I'm just saying. Elvis in the army didn't always look like Elvis in the army. And that hunk of burning love that you're thinking about, insert your favorite person here, or maybe the guy you're currently dating or the guy you're currently crushing on, insert them here. If you're going to be with them for the way they look, you are going to be sadly mistaken when they don't look like that anymore. Or let's say you're with somebody for their money. I hope they always have that money, because the second they don't, you're going to be looking elsewhere. You're not probably going to want to be with them anymore. You have to make what you are looking for in a partner more than just a superficial, shallow, materialistic feature. You need to look at them through their soul. Is that who God would have you to partner with in life? Is that who God would want you to build a life and a legacy and a family with? If it's not, stop wasting your time. Why am I single at 38? Because I'm not going to waste my time. I know what God has for me, and I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to settle for darkness, because I live in the light. I'm not going to settle for somebody that wants to do wrong, because I'm busy doing right. Am I perfect? No. Do I mess up? Yes. Do I have it all figured out? Also, no. But I read this little book right here. It's called the Bible. And I try my very best to live by the words in red, and to live by what it says in the Bible. Why? Because I want my life to reflect God. I want my life to reflect Christ. And I want whatever relationship that God gives me or doesn't give me to have Him as the center. Could I get into a relationship right now? Yes. Are there guys that ask me out on a daily basis? Yes. And as much as I appreciate the flattery, and as much as I appreciate, their kindness, and, wanting to take me out on a date, or wanting to buy me dinner, or wanting to take me on a fun little adventure, at the end of the day, if it's not God, and if I'm not constantly getting confirmation from God, this is the next step I should take, I'm not going there. I have several guy friends that, my friends are like, oh my gosh, they're so cute. They're so cute. Until God tells me that person is who God has for me to be with, we're friends. I am not getting into a relationship until I know that God is blessing it. Because if it's not from God, I don't want it. I don't want to waste my time. I've done that before, and I'm not, throwing shade on any of my exes or any of the relationships that I've been in previously. I thank God for them. I do believe that some of them were from God, some were just myself. But the ones that were from God were lessons, and I learned a lot from them. If I could go back, would I do things differently? Yeah, everybody would. I'm not perfect. But I can honestly look back over my life, and I can say that I don't have that many regrets. Could I have done certain things differently? Yes. But am I happy where I am? I don't have the words to fully express how content I am with where my life is right now. Yes, I always wanted to be that girl that got married out of high school and had babies and had a life, and the white picket fence and the little farm and the cows and the horses and all that. But that's not what God has for me right now. Will He have for it, one day? Maybe. I don't know. Well, the high school sweetheart part, no. But I don't know what God wants for me. I don't know what God has for me. But you know how I get closer every day? I read the Bible. The more I read the Bible, the more that I realize God's plan for me, the more that my life aligns with His, and the more that I see His will for my life. I don't want to live a life that glorifies me. I want to live a life that glorifies God. And what does that mean? That means being content every step of the way, knowing that he gives and he takes away. The rain falls on the just and the unjust. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes you think that there's potential with a relationship and it turns out there isn't. Well, if you do things God's way, you won't have that many regrets. If you take your time and you take things slow and you don't rush into the physical and you don't rush into moving in together. And listen, I am not throwing shade on anyone. Some people it worked for my mom and dad, but I'm telling you, I know me and I know that it would not work for me. People ask me all the time my thoughts on different things, and I tell them the same thing. I talk to God, and I encourage you to talk to God too. My convictions are not going to be your convictions. The things that God tells me not to do may not be completely the things he tells you not to do. For instance, I have never drank alcohol in my life, and I never will. Now, is that something that I say braggy or like I'm better than anybody? No, I'm not better than anybody. I was made in the same image that everybody else was made in, the image of God, and he breathed his breath inside of my lungs and your lungs too. So I'm not saying I'm better than anybody, but he has given me different choices than he has given you. And I have made a choice not to drink alcohol for my own personal reasons. And I have friends that have drank alcohol most of their adult life, and they're very godly. They are awesome people. God tells people to do different things. God has told me there are certain characteristics in a husband that I need to have. Why? Because my life is headed in one direction. And if I yoke myself like oxen in a yoke, it's kind of like a harness-ish. It goes around their head and they walk together. It helps oxen to plow a field together. They're partnering together to plow a field. And essentially, that's what we should be doing in life. We should be partnering with each other to plow the field of life, to plow the field of marriage. And if we're yoking ourselves up with somebody going in a different direction, neither one of us are going to get to where we need to get to, because we're going to be pulling people in the opposite direction. And I have had several relationships to where I have pulled others in an opposite direction and they've pulled me in an opposite direction. God's not glorified in that. I've learned lessons. I have more wisdom. But at 38 years old, I can honestly say, I don't want it if it's not from God. And I pray that he always keeps my heart, and that posture is that I want to hear his voice. I want to see his fingerprints, and I want to be with a man that is doing the same. I, don't want to be walking in addiction, and I don't want to be yoking myself up with somebody who's walking in addiction. I don't like a whole lot of cussing. That's just me. I don't like it. I don't want to marry somebody that I got to listen to him cuss all day. That would not be pleasant for me. I love country music. It would be probably miserable for the person that married me to be in a house with me, because I'm going to play 90s country all day long every day. That might be a problem. Do you see what I mean? Like, you could force a relationship to work just so you're not lonely, and just so you're not by yourself, and just so you're not single if you're worried about that. But what good would it be for? You're not going to be truly happy. Like I said, they might turn your head. They might, be hot to trot. But if they're not turning your soul, if your soul is not so lit up. Yesterday I was at Busch Gardens and I was watching a muralist. That's somebody using spray cans or sometimes an airbrush gun to paint a painting on a large wall or a large canvas. And when I tell you, when I watch people do that, my soul comes to life. Now, most of my childhood was spent watching my dad paint murals, and my soul comes to life when that happens. I want the relationship that I'm in to have that in common. I want my soul to come to life when I'm around that person. And are they going to be perfect? No. Are we going to have our arguments and our hard times? Yes. But for the majority of our relationship, I would like to be iron sharpening iron, bringing our souls a greater depth of intimacy and a greater depth of wisdom and a greater depth of color and of joy and of this effervescent happiness. If it's not that, I don't want it. Like, I would much rather be single for the rest of my life than to live some subpar life or being a roommate with somebody that doesn't spark joy inside of me. And I'll go there, okay? I hope that there's not kids listening to this, but if there is, this is part of marriage, it's part of the Bible. Sex is a beautiful thing that God has created for a man and a wife to join together and to enjoy each other in an intimacy that can't be found any other way, okay? However, I have read several books upon sex and several books on intimacy prior to getting married. And even I've read some after getting divorced, because the counselor that I went to was telling me the reason that my ex and I could never work was because our souls were not intimate. Our souls were not connecting on a level of best friendship and emotional intimacy and emotional maturity. And, you cannot, all the books that I've read about intimacy say that you cannot be fully satisfied with physical intimacy if you do not first have emotional intimacy. That, for some people, I know they're like, what? Yes, you have to have emotional intimacy before you will ever have physical intimacy. That's why all these people that are going on Tinder and going on these little apps to find somebody that are, quick to get intimate, and then they're like, why didn't that work? Why wasn't that good? Like, why did that person not want to marry me? Why did that relationship not last? Well, because it was a physical connection. You didn't have an emotional connection. You didn't have a spiritual connection. You didn't have an intellectual connection. You are never going to be happy if you do not have the connections in every realm: physical, emotional, intellectual, spiritual. You are not going to be happy. That's like having a French fry and saying you're satisfied. No, you need the burger, you need the bun, you need the milkshake, you need the whole kit and caboodle. You need all of it, not just the French fries. You need all of it. In a marriage, you need all of it too. You are not going to be happy with just a physical relationship. You need the emotional, you need the spiritual, you need all of it. So I want to encourage you, if you're 38 and you're single, if you're 38 and you're single, or if you're 40, or if you're 50, or if you're 20, or if you're insert your age here, whatever your age is, however old that you are, can I encourage you? Good night. This parking lot is packed. Can I encourage you, whatever age you are, instead of looking for somebody that is going to turn you on physically, instead of looking for somebody that is so attractive and they're so hot, can you wait and can you ask God to send you somebody that their spirit would ignite yours? Somebody, my little koala's dancing, somebody that intellectually will understand you on a level that's deeper than surface, that's deeper than the flesh, that you'll have a best friend to do life with. And can you wait until God sends you that person? Can you not rush into a dating app or, jumping from relationship to relationship to relationship? Can you wait? And can you see what God would have for you? Can you pray about it? You might find that God's way is better than your own way. Because, like I said, I'm 38 and I'm single, and I can tell you that I am happier than most of my friends that are in relationships. Yeah, they're not lonely, but they argue all the time. Yeah, they're not lonely, but they feel that they're not valued. Yeah, they're not lonely, But they've said on multiple occasions that all they have is the physical, that they don't have the emotional, that they don't have the spiritual. Why would you settle? Why would you settle? Just to have somebody there so you're not alone? So you can feed the flesh? Why? You're not going to be happy long term. I would just like this video to encourage you to wait, to trust God, and to do it God's way. Don't rush into a marriage just to, have sex. I've had a bunch of people ask me about that too. Well, I want to do things God's way. I want to do things the right way, so we're just going to hurry up and get married so we can have sex. No, if you're getting married just to have sex, you might as well just have sex, because your values are off. I tell people that a lot, and, you may agree with it, you may not, but sex should not be your reason to get married. Having somebody so you're not alone should not be your reason to get married. Feeling like you're more than because you have somebody on your arm should not be your reason to get married. Your reason to get married should be that you believe, if you're a believer, that you believe that God sent them to you, and that you can't imagine your life without them in it, that you can serve God better with them than apart from them, that you guys are a partnership, that you love the Lord, and that in your relationship, God is glorified more. Ask yourself, if you want to get married, or you want to have a boyfriend, or you want to start dating, ask yourself why. Why do you want to get married? Why do you want to start dating? What's the real reason behind it? If it's surface level and if it's shallow, maybe that's why you're not happy. Maybe that's why you don't have true joy. Maybe that's why no matter what you've done, you've never been happy. We're going to have a cameo appearance. It's a little boy running around. He's super cute. Ask yourself, what's your why? Why do you want to get into a relationship? Why do you want to date? If it's just so you won't be lonely, can I challenge you? Ask God for a better reason. Honestly. Because just being with somebody so you're not alone is kind of selfish. Instead of thinking about what you can do for them, you're thinking about what they can do for you, so they could fill a void. Ask yourself why that void's there to begin with. Because if God is filling you up, and if you're getting your worth and your validation in God, then you don't need a person to validate you. Just a couple of my thoughts. You can be single at whatever age you are and be fully content and fully satisfied and fully happy when you know that you are in the will of God, when you know that you are in the palm of God's hand. All my life, God has been faithful. And He's not going to stop now. And He's definitely not going to stop being faithful when it comes to protecting my heart. Like in Proverbs where it says, guard your heart, for it's the wellspring of life, and your life will flow from it. There have been multiple times that I am not proud to admit I have done a very poor job of guarding my heart. And I'm very grateful that God guards my heart when I don't. The older I get, the more I start guarding my heart, and the more selective I am with my time and the dates that I do or do not go on, and the guys that I will or will not let pursue me. Maybe you should be too. Maybe you should be a little bit more selective and trust and understand that you're God's baby girl, and God loves you more than anything in the world. Why would He ever allow somebody that doesn't know, appreciate, or value your heart to protect it or to hold it? I challenge you. You can be single and you can be happy and fulfilled and satisfied if you do it God's way. I love you. I'm an open book. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on social media. I love you. More importantly, God loves you. You are seen, celebrated, and loved. And I'll catch you in my next one.